It's time now for some business news, and for that I'm joined here in the studio by Stephen Carroll. Stephen, we're starting in India, which has seen record economic growth despite the coronavirus pandemic.
These latest figures cover the period from April to June of this year, when India was in the midst of a terrifying surge of COVID cases. These latest figures show the Indian economy growing by just over 20% during those 3 months. That's compared to the same period last year. Growth was driven by strong consumer spending, among other factors. One of the reasons this figure has hit a record is because of that comparison to last year. In 2020, during this same period, India was in a deep recession. Economic output is still, despite this record growth, 9% lower than before the pandemic. The country is now on track to register one of the fastest growth rates in the world this year, of around 9%. The indications for the month of July show optimism among factory managers, while vaccinations, although at a relatively low level, are picking up as well.
Next, some of the biggest brands in the luxury world are feeling the pinch after news of potential tax rises in China, Stephen.
Last month, President Xi Jinping said that China would regulate what he described as excessively high incomes and encourage high-income groups to return more to society. That's being seen as a signal that tax rises for the rich could be on the way, sparking fears among investors that luxury brands might suffer as a result. News shaving tens of billions of euros off their market value, as Catherine Viet now reports.
Beijing's call for a wealth redistribution initiative last month has sent a shiver through the luxury industry. The wealthiest Chinese could see their tax bill increase. The announcement has sent luxury stocks tumbling, shaving billions of euros from French luxury companies. Over the month of August, Hermès shares have fallen nearly 5%, while LVMH shares fell almost 9%, and Kering shares plummeted by 12.5%. Wealthy Chinese shoppers are some of the biggest consumers of luxury brands.
基本上会买包包或者鞋，然后价位的话可能是一两万左右吧。会买2-3个包奖励自己吧。预算呢？预算大概5-6万人民币一个包，可能会少一点，理性一点。
可能会减少20-30%吧。
The Chinese market is important to the French luxury industry, accounting for about 30% of all sales, according to some industry analysts. They see the recent volatility as a blip.
Je ne suis pas inquiète sur les perspectives à moyen et long terme du luxe en Chine, parce que je pense que les classes moyennes vont être de plus en plus nombreuses, et ce sont elles finalement le réservoir de croissance pour les groupes de luxe.
Still, the French luxury giant's recent losses are almost nothing compared to the gains made since the start of the year. In 2021, the sector has nearly recovered to its pre-pandemic sales level.
Let's take a look at what's happening on the markets today. European shares starting the day and the month in the green. Travel and leisure shares are leading the gains at the start of trading. The French drinks company Pernod Ricard seeing their shares rise by 2% after their latest results. In Asia earlier, we had gains across the main indices as well. Tokyo's Nikkei finishing up the day over 1%. Investors there keeping an eye on a survey of manufacturers from China showing weakened demand in August.
Now, staying with the business news, the trial of the medical tech company founder Elizabeth Holmes has begun in San Francisco.
Elizabeth Holmes faces charges that she deceived financial backers, customers and patients with claims that her company, Theranos, would revolutionise medical testing. It promised to detect a range of conditions using just a few drops of blood, but never delivered on those pledges. If Holmes is found guilty, she could be sentenced to as much as 20 years in prison. She denies the charges.
And finally from you, Stephen, some employers are changing their minds about when workers should go back to the office.
It's one of the big debates in companies in many parts of the world for the rest of this year. When should people who are working remotely go back into the office? Google has pushed back the date when its staff must return until January 10th next year. That's because of continuing uncertainty over the pandemic. The internet giant delayed a compulsory return, which was originally set for next month. Facebook and Apple have also pushed back their plans to bring workers back on site. Google says it'll give its employees 30 days notice of when they're expected to show up in the office.
Stephen Carroll with the business news. Thank you very much.